Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. This is your Thursday edition, and I want to thank everybody for joining us here. And I will show the screen here in just a minute. Just give me a minute here to turn on the screen. And let's see here. All right, there we go. You should see my screen now with the little title there. This briefing will cover the period today through the 10th of January. And wow, we got some active weather headed our way. Looks like the next week or two even perhaps will be somewhat active. And here's the satellite and overview and temperatures, and there's some radar embedded there. And you can see, generally speaking, across the eastern portion of the country right now, we're going to be, this whole area is generally under a fair weather pattern right now. So it looks like we're going to be in good shape for the rest of today and tomorrow. And of course, our next weather maker, you could see we're keeping an eye on this mass of clouds here and how this whole system will eventually move east and influence the weather pattern, bringing a storm system across the southeast with time. So anyway, you can see remnants of the cold front that's gone through, and certainly it's turned a little colder across here. In the last day or so, and of course it's going to be another chilly sub-freezing night tonight. So anyway, just a kind of quick overview of what the current scenario is. Now, our big concern as we head through the next couple days is going to be that system I told you, I showed you earlier across the western U.S. will make its way east. Before I get to what we're expecting with that, let me just quickly show the North Carolina drought update, which was just issued this morning. And we could see that there continues to be improvement, particularly across central North Carolina. This should continue to improve over the next 2 weeks as additional rain falls. And it looks like the western half of the state should get some more relief as well. So that is good news. All right, so what about the upcoming weather pattern and what we're going to see here? Today, again, high pressure. I pointed that out on the satellite image I just showed, giving us real nice weather. Later today, that'll continue into tomorrow. Saturday, you'll see there's the storm system. Look in the southern Rockies and the central Rockies. That storm system will progress eastward. You could see it there over the deep south there by Saturday, and moisture streaming up ahead of it. That whole frontal system and low pressure system will pass by to our east Sunday. We'll be on the back side of it, chillier but dry. Monday, the high pressure will be over the eastern U.S. Should keep us in a dry weather regime on Monday. But then the next weather system, you see we're in this pattern where it's, a weather system, a storm system, low pressure system, cold front, whatever you want to call it, moves through. Then we get a couple days of fair weather with high pressure behind it. And then the next one in the train of systems moves across. And then that's followed by a couple days of cooler, fair weather, and then so on. So we're in this pattern here, and obviously influenced somewhat by the El Nino. But the next big weather maker will affect us on Tuesday. I know we kind of skip over it in this graphic here going from Monday to Wednesday, but if I had a Tuesday graphic, that would show that low pressure and that green right over us. And just to call your attention to one thing that's probably of notice is look at all the lines, all the circles surrounding this low pressure here. Look at all the circles there. That basically tells us it's a very deep low pressure. And the more circles and lines you see around the low pressure, that means it's going to be windier. So this is going to be not only a wet system for us on Tuesday, but also a windy system as well. So bear that in mind. And there you could see one of the bold text highlights I mentioned there for Saturday is that precip when it moves up from the southwest early Saturday morning, late Friday night, early Saturday morning, may briefly start out as some light freezing rain, mainly along and north of the I-85 corridor. Here we go again. It's wintertime. It didn't take me long to say north of the I-85 corridor because that's traditionally where the coldest temperatures last the longest, and that's generally where we tend to have the most wintry weather across central North Carolina. So again, if you're along and north of 85, it could briefly start as some freezing rain, but it's that warm air is coming in so fast that it's not going to stay freezing rain for long. So I don't think it's going to cause any problems. But don't be surprised if you see a very, very light glaze of ice, particularly if you're from Winston-Salem north and west. That's the areas that'll probably see maybe the the sidewalk handles, the railings and that sort of thing, fence posts, getting a little light touch of ice glaze, but again, shouldn't really cause any problems. All right, so that's the overall pattern. I want to next show you the rain, because that's of all things that I'm concerned about, I'm most concerned, quite frankly. I'm not all that concerned about the freezing rain, but I'm mostly concerned about the heavy rain amounts, just the rain amounts the next 7 days, because you can see, look at Saturday, we're looking at anywhere from a half to an inch of rain. The models have been trending a little drier recently, so maybe closer to the half-inch mark than the inch mark, but nevertheless, there could be, some very localized poor drainage flooding concerns across the eastern half of the state on Saturday. Sunday's dry, Monday's mostly dry. The colors you see there on Monday, that comes late at night. And then Tuesday is a pretty wet day, wet and windy, where rainfall amounts will probably range anywhere from 1.5 inches to as much as 3 inches of rain. So when you add up the next 7 days, here's a 7-day total. Look at that. 2.5 to 5 inches of rain in the next 7 days for central North Carolina. And look there by toward Asheville, look at the even higher amounts. And that corresponds to the area that's seeing still the lingering drought. So, it's good news that they're getting that rain, but it's unfortunate it has to come all at once, because when it comes all at once, oftentimes flash flooding becomes a concern. So while we'll get relief from the drought, the price we pay is a risk of flash flooding. So anyway, be cognizant of that on Tuesday, the risk for flash flooding as well. And again, it'll be pretty windy. So if there's any outdoor objects that get tossed around, that could happen on Tuesday. So anyway, how much freezing rain Saturday morning? Well, these amounts that I show here, this is our official forecast. But I think this is more or less our worst case scenario. So where you see the yellow again, don't be surprised if there's a touch of glaze. It won't last long. I doubt there'll be many, if any, impacts at all. It's going to warm up pretty quickly above freezing Saturday morning. By 9 o'clock, all of central North Carolina will be above freezing. Even the Triad will be above freezing by 9 a.m. So is one of my colleagues here, Tom. Tom, you've probably heard him give the briefings a few times in the past. He came over and he said, hey, you know what? If you sleep in late Saturday morning, you're going to miss the whole thing. You're going to wake up, if you wake up late Saturday morning, if you're a late sleeper, you might wake up and say, what freezing rain? You might miss it. So anyway, plan to sleep in late on Saturday is what Tom said, if you can. So anyway, but one other thing I'll mention is our policy is to issue a winter weather advisory for any amount of freezing rain, even if it's non-impactful, even if it's a trace. So don't be surprised if you see winter weather advisories for portions of central North Carolina, the Triad, maybe up near the Virginia border. Don't be surprised if you see those coming out tomorrow or Saturday morning. I probably wouldn't get too alarmed. Just know that any amount of freezing rain triggers a winter weather advisory for central North Carolina. Okay. All right. What about severe thunderstorm potential? Any risk there? No risk for severe thunderstorms. There could be maybe a stray thunderstorm on Saturday, but nothing severe. The risk for flash flooding will be, this goes out the next 3 days. So the only, actually these EROs go out to 5 days, but we're only featuring the next 3 days. Sunday, Monday, no problem. But Saturday, there is a very low end risk, marginal risk for flash flooding across the eastern half of the state. All right, looking further ahead, I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this briefing that we're entering a period of active weather, wet weather. So the 8 to 14 days shows above normal precip. These weather systems are tracking west of the mountains, so that keeps us on the warm side of things. So temperatures generally, at or above normal. Not really seeing any risk for any big winter weather events. These next few events will be rain events for the most part. All right, here's our graphical hazardous weather outlook. This seems to be a popular product because you can look at it in 3 seconds and know which days are the bad days and which days are and what types of hazards there may be. And this might even overstate it a little bit. Orange might be a little bit, like I said, worst case scenario. And we highlight all Friday and we highlight all Saturday because this is a very coarse time scale. It covers a 24-hour period. But I do want to mention that even though Friday is highlighted orange for ice accumulation, that represents late Friday night, okay? And even though Saturday is orange, that represents early Saturday morning time frame only. So don't think, don't misunderstand this graphic and think that there's going to be a prolonged ice event. There's not. It's going to be very brief. So anyway, I wanted to point that out. Also, look at the yellow boxes there, Tuesday and Wednesday. That next weather event's going to be pretty windy. And if the excessive rainfall went out to Tuesday and Wednesday, that Tuesday block, if it existed, would probably be at least yellow, maybe even orange. So anyway, keep that in mind. All right, before I get to well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do the summary. And the next weather maker, of course, will be on Saturday. Some heavy rain possible. The precip may briefly start as light, non-impactful freezing rain along and north of I-85. Another breezy and windy heavy rain event is possible on Tuesday. All rain is expected with that one. And then the active weather pattern continues through the middle of the month. Let's see, what about hazards? Again, few if any impacts are expected with the brief episode of freezing rain on Saturday morning, that is. And then on the other hand, though, the main concern for Saturday will be the risk for localized flash flooding across the eastern half of the state. And then again, my day, honestly, in the next 7 days, I'm most concerned about Tuesday because that's a big storm with heavier amounts of rain, and it's wound up storm, it's windy. That's just going to be a lousy day on Tuesday. So anyway, definitely check back with us as we head through the next few days, and especially be here on next Monday when we do our Monday briefing. You'll want to hear about what we're expecting Tuesday. Okay, so that is your weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. Remember, anytime hazardous weather is expected, we always put out extra slides. So if you're not on our email list, you can get them on weather.gov/Raleigh on the briefing icon and on our social media channels. So with that, thank you so much for joining us.